We welcome all of you to the first DevTalk of 10 Days of Code, the inaugural edition of 10 Days of Code, an initiative by our club to ensure that more and more people take up coding during this pandemic and create a greater impact towards society. So on this special occasion, we have with us Mr. Igor, an alumnus of St. Petersburg University, Russia. Well, I hope all of you have heard the name of this university. Igor was not one of those born coding prodigies, as he previously worked as an auto mechanic in Russia, then moved to South Korea, and then finally works in Silicon Valley, the United States. Again, a place you might have heard of, right? Igor has worked for huge tech giants like Netflix, Google, and Motorola, among others. He is currently an engineering manager at Facebook, California. Igor will speak to us about a very pressing issue, something which we as a club also would like to induce in the hearts and minds of each one of you. Upcoming changes and the growing importance of technology during the pandemic. A pandemic which has taken over our lives in such a way that we still do not know how to move out of it. We hope that technology is the way out of this. Technology helps us lead a normal life again. Thank you so much, Igor, for accepting our invitation. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mohit, and it's an honor for me to be in this event, and I hope I will help inspire some people to look forward in this kind of troubled world, and definitely technology helps a lot to make it less troubled and more improve like communication with everyone, make it even a little bit smaller, I would say. Should I start now?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay, yeah, my name is Igor. As Mohit already introduced me, let me start from disclaimer. First of all, this talk is just my personal thoughts. Nothing should be affiliated with my past or current company. And the second one, this is just for education purposes only. Hopefully no one will ever try to monetize this. And with this, I will start. So Liman asked me to speak about upcoming changes and the growing importance of technology amidst the global pandemic. I feel it's a little bit like long topic, so let me make it a little bit more simple. Pandemic and us. So I hope we will cover most of things that Liman expected me to cover, and let's just think about who we are and how it will affect all of us. Overall, I would start with what actually shapes us in this world, right? Like there are genes, parents, friends, colleagues, and everything changes. Like even our genes are different towards the end of our life compared to the beginning. And usually there are big events who shape us. They're not always pleasant. And for example, in my personal life, if I think about like friends or colleagues, like the first that comes into my mind was when I was switching schools. The boys made celebration that I was leaving their school. They were really happy that I'm leaving, and it was a very tragic event at that time for me. It was a very sad event. I thought I had some kind of friends or something, and that definitely was not the pleasant experience I wanted to have in my life, but I had, and it taught me a lot. I felt it taught me mostly about independence from other people's opinions, from what they think about me, and just the focus of on my own feelings. And I was in quite a few schools. My first school was Indian, actually. So Namaste ji, mera naam Igor hai. That school actually taught me a lot about like the culture of other countries, especially about India. I read a lot of stories, a lot of like ancient stories like Rama, all this culture, like Mahatma Gandhi, all the leaders were like strong icons for me as well when I was young. Schools taught a lot, but also if I think about like what shaped me in schools, it was also pretty big events. And for example, in my last school, I remember there was a Russian literacy teacher who didn't like my essays. My essay, she really like put like C or D score, and I felt kind of very sad. And my mom was actually even concerned that, oh, I thought you're pretty good in literature, like what's going on? So she actually brought my essay to the university teacher of Russian literature, and she told, he's pretty good, like don't worry about this. And it also was good learning for myself, like even though I was getting maybe one of the worst grades in the class on Russian literature, this authority who was our Russian literature teacher was probably not confident enough to evaluate me, and I should focus on growing on myself. That was another lesson, like just grow myself. Don't compete with other people. Compete with yourself. This is very important. And just try to write better than you wrote last day. Not necessarily think about which grades you will receive or how good you're comparing to other people. And then in mass media, like I was actually big reader of like news. I watched a lot of TV news in the past. Then internet emerged, and I was looking at the news from internet. And there was also a very big event that comes to my mind is me and my friend in 2006. We were very young. We wanted to travel around the world. So we got as much money as we had this time, and we actually decided to spend our trip to Czech Republic. It was a big event for us, and we were looking forward. And then all Russian like Central TV channels were showing like there is a flood in the capital of Czech Republic in Prague. So we were very concerned and kind of upset, like, oh wow, we're going there, and then there's like water everywhere. What should we do? Will we lose all of our money we spent? But I remember we decided, okay, we should try. We spend our money, we should go there. So I remember we went to the bus with our guide to Czech Republic, and we all like, there are tons of people who were concerned, like, where are we going? Will we use boats there? And guess what was the reply of the guide? She actually told, don't worry. I called the person who actually lives in Prague. There is nothing there, completely nothing. So it ended up that Russian Central TV channels were showing big European floods from 2002. So like 4 years old videos were showing on Central TV channels, news channels, internet. And I think that time was actually that I realized that a lot of things that going on in our news is like, it's all about brainwash. It's not about like truth. I can't get much information from the news and from TV, and I should learn more about like books or speaking with people. But that was sad at the time. It was a lot of stress preparing for that event. And then in jobs, like there were a lot of jobs, as Mahit mentioned. But I remember South Korea taught me a lot of things. Experience in Samsung Electronics in South Korea. By that time, it was already my third company in software engineering space. So I felt pretty confident. And I remember I really liked one project. I wanted to do this project. I thought it's interesting. So I came to my boss and asked, like, can I get this project? I think this is very interesting for me. And now I'm kind of, I even like that he was pretty direct to me, but at that time it was also pretty big disappointment when my boss, my Korean boss, directly told me, you know, Igor, unfortunately, that project is very important for the company, and you're a foreigner, and we can't trust foreigners. Unfortunately, this is too important for a foreigner to go over. And that time I was thinking, wow, definitely I had much more equality working in Russia, and I was already thinking maybe in Russia building career was not as bad. And I was complaining to this manager that like, why is like this in Korea? Like, why is like this in Samsung Electronics? You think you're like international company, but look at the American companies. It's all about equality, all about like move smart and all this stuff. And I remember the boss told like, I was in America and it's all the same. I worked in American companies and all the same. And that was the point in my life. And I realized I don't trust him. I want to go and check. So I set goal to myself to actually go to America and to see by my own eyes, because I couldn't believe that it will be the same amount of like kind of inequality and poor management as I saw in Samsung. And I remember I spent 2 years like preparing for interviews, then applying the companies. It was a tons of rejections. Like I think for 100 probably requests to interview me on approaches the company, I got only one response to actually, okay, go to for interview. And then most of these interviews ended up, oh, sorry, we can't sponsor your H-1B visa. So it was a very tough journey, but at least I got a goal from this kind of, from my Korean manager. And hobbies, I think hobbies, most of my hobbies are actually sports. And they taught me about perseverance. It's the only way to achieve something in sports is like to push yourself hard, and harder you push, more success you get, and it never comes easier. That also I think was good lesson for myself. And I'm curious also to know about you, like throw some words maybe in comments if you're watching, maybe like Liman can deliver some of the words. What describes you? What things you believe, your generation? I'm very curious to know about this. If you think about myself, if you describe myself, I think the first that comes into my mind, I'm citizen of the world. I don't know what patriotism means. I don't know what is my country. I lived in a few countries. I traveled in 50 plus countries. And I think the world is just like one world, like we share one planet. So I don't believe much in like affiliating myself with particular country, and I'm pretty probably say I'm stubborn. I think it goes back to back. You need to be stubborn to achieve goals, especially if people around you don't believe that you can do this. And yeah, definitely sports. Sports taught me a lot in this world. And humor, that's probably also important piece of me. I think it's very hard to keep sanity, especially in this world, especially in 2020, if we take our life too seriously. And you can think like California, and I thought like California is pretty safe spot, but think about this year. It was like a pandemic, then we all went to lockdown, then there are like wildfires started, then there's like firestorm started, then another pandemic, small pandemic in Tahoe started, then all our sky became orange, and then we took the first spot in the world in the worst air quality in the world. So even like California was insane this year, and I think only taking this life with some sense of humor helps to keep yourself kind of positive. As my actually Indian colleague recently told, the goal of this year is just survive. If you survive, 2020 was good enough for you. So I think this is a very good approach. And the things I believe, the very important thing that I do truly believe is we are all different. We come from different backgrounds, different cultures, we have different genes and everything, but we should be equal. I think this is the thing that will benefit everyone if we provide equal opportunities to people. And I also believe in love, not just love to your significant others, to people, to close ones, but just love to people. Like this is I think, main response to this kind of troubled world and world problems. If we treat each other with some love. And when I came to America, California, especially Silicon Valley, it's all about like making a positive impact. So I also got this sense that, yeah, we should all try to make a positive impact. And there's actually African-American baseball player who changed the whole perception of African-Americans in baseball. Jackie Robinson, he told, life isn't significant except its impact on other lives. So if you think like we'll all die one day, right? And all money or not all our achievements will disappear without death. It's only impact we did on other people will stay after us, and hopefully it will be mostly positive impact. Let's think about trends. So trends we already had in this world. First is globalization, and I know there are pros and cons, but the fact that because of globalization, billions of people went out of poverty within the last 30 years. This is, I think, very good achievements. And I do believe that we shouldn't compete as a country. It's like we share the same planet. It's kind of stupid to compete if you are in one boat, right? You can easily break this boat, and we have enough like power to destroy our planet easily. So yeah, I think I'm kind of a supporter of globalization, and digitalization goes also back to back. It helps a lot, especially through internet. Now we can communicate with the whole world without much of boundaries. And that was a trend that we already had. And in addition to this remote work, there was already companies, especially in Silicon Valley, that told like remote first, like Stack Overflow, they told remote work is first, it's our future and all this stuff. Fall of brick and mortar stores was also very strong trends. We had quite a few bankruptcies especially last years. The biggest like toy shop in the world, like Toys R Us, Sears is like dying last 20 years. It was the biggest American company in the 70s. If you heard about like Sears Tower, it was the tallest tower from 1973 until 25 years. It was taller than World Trade Center in New York. And now it's called like Willis Tower. And yeah, people don't know much about Sears anymore. But it was like it's big symbol of outgoing era, like era of big brick and mortar stores. And then space projects. It's not just like SpaceX who just launched their reusable rocket. It was also like Blue Origin, for example, actually launched first reusable rocket. But they not just wanted to fly there; they wanted to do colonization of the planets around. Right, projects were there, and with all this pandemic, they were just kind of accelerating the trends, I would say. But some trends are new. We will never expect that it will be hard for us to actually communicate with people who live like 2 blocks far from us, right? It's hard to communicate with friends, with our colleagues, and definitely impact of this pandemic went not just by accelerating the current trends, there were like new things that we didn't think about this. And for example, healthcare system, it was definitely not ready for this pandemic. In most of countries, it was completely not ready, especially in America. And this was the problem that arose in addition to education, kids, collaboration between people. And the last thing is entertainment and services. Like a lot of entertainment and services, there were trends to go online, making kind of remote presence there, but it was not as fast as it probably needed to go. And overall, if you think about this big event like pandemic, where it caused like troubles to the whole world, tons of problems arose and all this stuff, it's like very huge severity of this event, right? Like a lot of people died, a lot of people became sick, and it's impossible to predict this event. So like high severity, very low predictability. This is what Talib Nasseb calls like black swan event. And this pandemic, Talib Nasseb actually thinks is not actually black swan for everyone. For example, in his book, The Black Swan, he was predicting something like this. And Singapore government was approached him a few years ago, and they actually discussed how to kind of fight this future pandemic that was, they both thought it's inevitable. And you can see like now Singapore is dealing pretty well with this kind of virus. But overall, for most of the world and most of people, I think it's definitely black swan events. We couldn't predict this, and it has huge impact on our lives. Even for me personally, it was definitely the worst and the toughest year I ever had in my life. And what black swan events usually do, they usually destroy fragile and even robust systems. So Talib Nasseb in his other book, Anti-Fragile, calls that there is fragile systems, there are robust systems, but this is also anti-fragile, which is the opposite of fragile. It means that the problems that are brought to the system make the system stronger. And if you think about nature, it's kind of common in nature. For example, our immune system, it's anti-fragile. Like more bacteria, more viruses we get, stronger we become. It grows the opposite defense system, right? And if you think about market economy, for example, when you don't have much government support, it's very volatile, it's very random, but it's also anti-fragile. Tons of companies die, tons of companies go bankrupt, but overall the system itself is anti-fragile. New companies emerge and take over businesses. And as the father of modern economy, Peter Drucker told, every single social and global issue of our day is a business opportunity in disguise. So it's new opportunities, new problems, new opportunities. And it was actually not only problems. Some people and some industries were happy to this virus, right? Of course, first that comes into our mind is like probably gamers and people who enjoy like online presence. But also retailers, for example, every retailer that already made this kind of gap from brick and mortar into internet and online presence, they benefited a lot. And you can see like Amazon, Wayfair, they all like went 3x this during this like last 6-7 months. And it doesn't mean that it became bubble. It just means the growth was accelerated by this pandemic. And if overall, if you just look into the US economy, S&P 500, basically the overall evaluation of 500 top American companies is actually stable. Now it's the same evaluation as it was before the pandemic. So it means that the companies, they just redistributed their market ownership among themselves. They didn't go, many companies went down, but immediately other companies went up and got over these niches. And yeah, you think about social website, dating websites, online news presence, it all went up. And also what's actually interesting, NASDAQ index, which is actually American index of high-tech companies, it actually went up. It's like, I think 20% up already compared to the beginning of this pandemic. So immersive technologies, everything related to online, it actually grows. It's just that people and evaluation of the company is not how much company costs now. It's more about how investors think this company will cost. Right? This is kind of the trend. So pandemic accelerated a lot of trends in a positive way. online marketing, and of course, everything related to automatization and accounting. And many things, even from remote work and working from home, was not ready for this. And we all, I think, were expecting positive things, especially me. I was expecting like positive things working from home. But in reality, I was not even able to buy a comfortable chair. Like all chairs are gone from local stores. So definitely there is a lot of things to improve from this kind of work from home experience, and be ready and train myself. For example, I was used to going to a corporate gym. So I started to now run around my house because there was like all gyms are closed. So yeah, we need some time to adopt, but overall, a lot of effects could be like positive if we look in the long term. For example, work environment. So already like there were trends to make it remote, but now most of companies accelerate these trends like dramatically. Like Twitter told all employees can work remotely forever. Many companies set the goals they will hire like 50% of people remotely in the upcoming years. And even like business travel, they try to reevaluate the needs of business travel, right? Like why need to do business travel around the world, have all jet lag, all these things, spend corporate money if you can actually do it through online video presence. And definitely we need more technologies to collaborate, but it's going. And now this pandemic accelerated all this trend dramatically. And internet infrastructure, it's already like huge investments going to cloud computing, digital processing. Internet was kind of anti-fragile system, except maybe everyone heard about this DNS issue we had, except this, it was pretty anti-fragile. It was a big hit on the internet usage, and it was pretty good to be scaled. And as you know, how people build backend systems, they actually design it that data center could die, then other data center should scale good enough, create clone like tons of new virtual machines. And this is how anti-fragile systems work. One thing replaces the other thing. So internet infrastructure was a good example of how we can fight with black swans. And online industrialization was big already. People expected like $60 billion telemedicine to be in 5 years. Now they think it will be 2-3x more, actually. So telemedicine was actually a good example when progress was there, but it was so slow compared to the actual people needs. And many doctors and hospitals had issues, and probably like quite a few people died because we were not ready to scale up our medicine systems. Of course, education. Now in America, I think most of schools are still online, and it's pro and cons. Of course, it's hard for parents sometimes to be in the same room, work remotely, especially with kids running around. From other perspective, it actually provides a lot of opportunities, especially what about kids who live in the places where no good schools, right? Or if parents want to kid to have education from abroad, but doesn't want to send like a 5 or 7 years old kid to another country. So it's a lot of opportunities as well. And pleasure time as well. Like there is a lot of things that we can enjoy working out from the home. Like for example, in the AR/VR technology, there is a lot of now things that you can do like online gym, boxing, just stay in your house with these AR/VR headsets. And this is really like new trends which will be resistant to all future pandemics. And I think an important effect is also screen time attitude. Usually, especially for parents, we thought, okay, kids should have limited amount of screen time, and they should have more social time. They should spend time with their friends, their family. Screen time is kind of negative aspect, and this pandemic changes completely. Now, social time and screen time became almost the same, because when people went like into lockdown mode, there was no way to actually have social time without screen time. And definitely there was opportunities to communicate with like grandparents, friends living outside only through this screen, through video presence. So definitely there will be big paradigm shift about what screen time means and how we should think about this. It's definitely not as bad as we thought before. And laws, a lot of laws already changed. There are some limits, some opportunities. For example, now you can actually
take a cocktail out of the bar. It was not possible in California before. Take cocktail to go. Definitely opportunity to create more cocktails, but there's other much bigger opportunities. For example, everything related to psychiatric medicine. Before you couldn't do all this psychiatric practice through online, through internet. There was a lot of restrictions. But then with this pandemic, the American government actually gave a lot of opportunities. Now you can treat a lot of psychiatric diseases through internet, through like video presence, because there is no other way to actually treat people, unfortunately. So definitely a lot of opportunities, but we also should think about limits that we get from it, right? And for example, World War II was the time when American government decided that they need more money, and they actually made income tax law for middle class. Before, middle class was almost not paying income taxes. So this law was just intended to support World War II spendings of US, and now we see we still pay income taxes, and laws that come during sometimes kind of these big events, they stay forever. And I know like many governments now, for example, started to push people use special like apps in their phones to track where they go, which people they meet. This is really like a sketchy trend, I would say. We should be very much aware. I'm happy that in America people kind of know that this is not the right way to do. Like once you lose your privacy, it will be very hard to restore it back. Once government knows all interactions of people, it will be very hard to get rid of this. And we should always like think about this. But overall, I think all these changes will bring even more equality in the world. If you now live in India, you don't need to go my road, push hard yourself and check your luck to go to US to build an amazing career there. It's actually, you can join an American company from your Indian house very easily now. You don't need to leave your parents, all this stuff. And before it was probably you have like subsidiaries, right, that had special projects, for example, for your country. Now you can even work in headquarters. We just have started to have teams that located, for example, in headquarters of Facebook, but there are remote positions, and people from around the world can actually join them. And other companies the same. So basically more remote opportunities, more equality will be in the world, where people compete on their merits, on their skills, on their how smart and how hardworking they are, not just like where they live, right? So I think this is kind of a very positive effect, and hopefully it will also make the world a better place as well. And one actually other big trend, people started to wash hands much more. And I actually realized that since February, I was never felt not just sick, but I didn't felt cold or something. I feel much healthier since February. And I was traveling, like keeping all the mask, everything. But I was like washing my hands like maybe 4 times more often. It does help. It does help. I realized like I got a lot of bacteria from my hands in the past, and all people started, like most people started to wash hands much more. But even if you think about this small thing like washing hands, what is technology behind this? It's like 1,000 years old technology, flow of water goes on our hand, a lot of splashes go around. It's very ineffective. Like it's as ineffective as 1,000 years old technology could be. So I think it's another opportunity that hopefully will be used by someone that definitely we should be able to wash hands with much more effective, with less water consumption, and with guaranteed results. For example, you like the same as we dry our hands, right? If you push our hands in some machine, it just washes everywhere. We don't need to have these weird movements. It will save much more, a lot of like water and even soap, because now soap is also pretty obsolete technology, how we take it out. So there will be tons of opportunities around, and it just depends on people who see those opportunities and who are like stubborn enough to follow their vision and drive their vision. If someone already fell asleep by this moment, I think it's a good time to wake up. We will discuss a little bit what we went through. So overall, this pandemic is a black swan event for most of people and countries and governments. It's impossible to predict. It's very low frequency, and it's huge severity and huge impact on the world and people's lives. I will mention all the books at the end of the presentation. And also, Black Swan events breaks both robust and fragile systems. So it will be nice to focus on building anti-fragile systems. Systems like Hydro Dragon, which become stronger if you cut one head, or like backend infrastructure in internet, right? That's what resists big problems in this world. And you are the future. In 20, 30 years, you will be people who will be in the head of most influential companies in the world. And there will be quite a few Black Swan events going forward. At least every like 5 to 10 years, there is another Black Swan events. There were wars. Hopefully, there will be no wars. There were like financial crises. There were like Great Depressions. A lot of Black Swan events come and go, and they actually shape this world. But they also create a lot of opportunities, and it will be us who will be whether led the transformation of our company or just stay and wait until another Black Swan event come and destroy our company and lead the transformation. During this actually pandemic, we saw that within days, many companies went fully remote, and then within like weeks, they pivoted their businesses. And within months, they actually reinvented their businesses. So many companies were born, or reborn during this time. And definitely there will be a lot of new successful companies that will emerge or even like be founded during these tough times. And there will be like one time after every Black Swan event when we will look back and think, oh, that was the time when it all started. And I hope we all will be participants and maybe active drivers of good transformations in technology and in our future companies. And as Tony Robbins tells, the only limit to your impact is your imagination and commitment. So dream wild and commit and be stubborn and achieve things you want. Thank you everyone for listening. As I mentioned, there are a few books from Nassim Taleb that I think really help to understand these all big events like the Black Swan and Anti-Fragile. If you want to know a little bit more about just dream or think about what other things will happen in the 21st century, I also recommend an amazing book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. And if you want to think about how to build infinite systems and infinite maybe organizations or teams that don't compete with other people or other companies that compete with themselves and just grow strong independent of circumstances, I really recommend this amazing book by Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game. And also, if you are still interested in perceiving opportunity in Silicon Valley one day, you can watch my previous talk I gave to Rahul about how to get jobs in like big companies. It's just introduction, but I think it will get you some idea. There is also like full version. And good luck to you. Really looking forward to your generation. And always happy to connect. If you want, write me something on LinkedIn. I'm there. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, Mahid, you are muted now.
Mohit, you're on mute.
Okay, yeah, so sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, Igor, for your wonderful talk. Like, it was really very insightful on your part to actually break this pandemic into so many parts and show us all the aspects of life, and eventually to make us realize that it is not exactly a problem we are in, but an opportunity which we are facing, an opportunity to become better by making use of the circumstances, by actually making use of the time we have been bestowed upon by staying at home and actually exploring a whole new arena. So again, thank you so much, Igor, for this wonderful talk. We would really cherish whatever you said and take it forward. And we really hope that you see some wonderful things coming up from our generation as we take inspiration from people like you. And hopefully one of us, like walking down Silicon Valley one day, we give you a good, nice greeting and remind you about this session which you had taken for the GNU Linux Users Group, NIT Durgapur in India, and inspired us with your words. Thank you so much again for this wonderful session. Also, 10 days of code still continues. The participants are still battling it out with their projects, and we wish them all the best for the remaining days. We'll also have another Dev Talk on 10th October, and we'll be unveiling the speakers soon. So stay tuned. Thank you for coming for this session. Thank you to all the audiences. And it was really great listening to you, Igor. Thank you so much.
Thank you also. Thank you also, Mohit and Liman, for inviting me. And I also wanted to mention that I saw trends in India. Like India also is going very good in especially IT and high-tech world. So I also hope a lot of great companies will be founded and emerge from India. So good luck with this as well. You don't need to leave your country.
Yeah, thank you so much, Igor. Yeah, actually in India, technology is something which is coming up very fast, and people over here are taking to technical education. We are actually conscious that we should go for sessions like this. We should learn from people who have already achieved all this and are ahead in this field, so that we can also like catch up soon and give some tough competition. So yes, we hope that does happen.
Cool. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, thank you so much to our audience. With this, we come to the end of our stream. See you soon. May the source be with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Igor, you stay here, please. We'll just hang around for 5 more minutes.
Yeah, Rajesh and Harshit, just a clarification. Yeah, the stream can be stopped right now.